principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the way, he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms at each country, and their leaders are expected to follow.
This is almost certainly over northern China, over Xinjiang. Can you tell us what is happening here?
I cannot see, this video. This is not the first time you show me. I still remember last year you showed me what is happening in Xinjiang.
In Xinjiang, exactly.
But let me tell you this. Xinjiang, have you been to Xinjiang yourself?
No, I never have.
You know, Xinjiang is regarded as the most beautiful place in Xinjiang. There's a Chinese saying, you do not know how big China is.
Ambassador, that is not beautiful coverage, however, is it? Can I ask you why people are kneeling, blindfolded and shaven and being led to trains in modern China? Why? What is going on there?
I do not know where you get this videotape. You know, sometimes you have a transfer of prisons and prisoners. You know, in any case.
Terzanai Zaiwuddin is reliving a story she can barely bring herself to tell. She was held at one of Xinjiang's so-called re-education camps. These satellite images show the site where Terzanai says she was held, sharing a cell with 13 other women. She's haunted by one image, masked men coming down a camp corridor like this one after midnight.
They were 3 men. Not one, but 3. They did whatever evil their mind could think of, and they didn't spare any part of my body, biting it to the extent that it was disgusting to look at. They didn't just rape, they were barbaric. They had bitten all over my body.
The US have granted her safe refuge after investigating her claims. She's waived her right to anonymity and now feels free to speak out about the full extent of the abuse she says she suffered.
They had an electric baton. I didn't know what it was. It was pushed into my private parts and I was tormented with electric shocks.
It's estimated over 1 million Uyghurs and other Muslims are held in the camps. These never-before-broadcast pictures were filmed secretly in a camp under construction and published by a magazine on religious liberty. Many former camp inmates flee to Istanbul. Some talk of being forced to choose between punishment or complicity in these crimes.
Ansila and Nusila, ages 8 and 7, left their home in Kazakhstan to go to China with their mother, Adiba, in 2017. Adiba grew up in China, so she went back for a short visit to see some family and take a few classes in Xinjiang in northwest China. Her husband, Yestin, and young son, Nurmaken, stayed home. But shortly after they arrived, Adiba and her daughters disappeared because they went back at the wrong time. Xinjiang is the region where the U.S. says China has put up to 2 million people, nearly all Muslims, in detention camps over the last few years. Activists say Beijing has done that to try to eliminate Islam within its borders. And ex-detainees have told CNN they were tortured inside while undergoing political indoctrination. Adiba and her family are Muslim. Her husband Yestin says a relative told him his wife was put in such a camp while his daughters were sent to live with distant relatives. He hasn't heard from any of them in nearly 2 years. When he sees young women in the neighborhood, he calls them mama, Yestin says. He doesn't even know what his own mother looks like. China says these camps aren't prisons, but voluntary vocational training centers that are being used to not eliminate Islam generally, only Islamic extremism, but the government has linked to past terror attacks in the region. So authorities play propaganda videos like this one on state-run TV to show happy Muslims cheerfully learning. They interview some who have supposedly been, quote, reformed, steered away from a life of terrorism. But even if that's true, Yestin says that still does not explain why his wife was locked up. My wife is not a terrorist, he says. She has nothing to do with it. I can't express with words how much pain I feel when I think of her there. We asked Chinese authorities what happened to Adiba. They did not reply to our question.
So even as we confront a global health crisis, an economic crisis, it is critical that we continue to defend democracy. To that end, the United States is strengthening our engagement with the United Nations and the broader multilateral system. We are also rejoining the Human Rights Council because we know the status of democracy depends on our collective commitment to those values articulated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Nations Watch, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This council is charged with protecting civil and political rights, which includes the freedom of religion, as guaranteed under Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Today we ask, is the UN helping the victims who need protection most? Now, I've just seen the latest annual report of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. As documented therein, I wish to list 5 of the world's worst violators of religious freedom: China, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Nigeria, Eritrea. Second, I will now list 5 members who sit here on this UN Human Rights Council: China, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Eritrea. Madam Chair, under Article 9 of this Council's founding charter, member states have a duty to quote, uphold the highest standards in the promotion and protection of human rights. So, we'd like to know, why has there never been a single resolution for religious minorities oppressed by Council members like Pakistan and Saudi Arabia? Now, we've just heard from Pakistan on behalf of the 57-member Islamic group of states. They spoke of Islamophobia and of criticism of religion. Yet, if they truly care about Muslims and for their religious freedoms, why has Pakistan and the Islamic group failed to introduce a single resolution, a single urgent session, a single commission of inquiry for 1 million Muslims currently being detained in camps and persecuted because of their religion by China?